Good morning, everyone. Life is a journey, and the most beautiful part of this journey is the opportunity to grow every single day. Imagine for a moment that life is like a garden. If you water the flowers, they bloomed. If you leave the weeds unchecked, they overtake the beauty. Similarly, our minds and hearts need constant nurturing to become better versions of ourselves. Improvement is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming a little better than who you were yesterday. It is about small, consistent steps that lead to giant leaps over time. Some people wait for the perfect moment, for the perfect opportunity, or for someone to inspire them. But the truth is, improvement begins within. Every mistake we make, every failure we face, and every criticism we receive is a chance to reflect, learn, and evolve. The people who succeed in life are not those who never fail, but those who never stop improving. Growth is a lifelong habit, not a one-time event. Think about the things you know today. A year ago, many of them were unknown. A year from now, what you learn, how you grow, and the habits you build today will shape the person you become tomorrow. The world is constantly changing, and if we stop improving, we risk being left behind. Improvement comes in many forms: reading, learning new skills, practicing mindfulness, taking care of your health, building relationships, and even learning to control your thoughts. Remember, your mind is your most valuable asset, and it deserves continuous nourishment. So let us commit today to never stop improving ourselves. Let us embrace challenges, learn from failures, and become the best version of ourselves, not for anyone else, but for the journey of life itself. Because a life without growth is like a river that stops flowing. It becomes stagnant. But a life of continuous improvement is like a river that keeps moving, shaping everything around it and creating beauty wherever it goes. Self-growth is not something that happens overnight. It is a journey, not a destination, and it requires patience, persistence, and the willingness to embrace change. Many people look at growth as a final goal, a trophy to be won, or a certificate to be earned, but that is a misconception. Real growth is continuous. It flows like a river, always moving, always reshaping, and never stagnant. When we stop learning, stop reflecting, or stop pushing ourselves, we stop truly living. The process of improving ourselves is endless because life itself is constantly changing. Every day, new challenges, new opportunities, and new experiences come our way. If we do not evolve alongside them, we risk becoming outdated, not just in skills or knowledge, but in our mindset and approach to life. Consider a seed planted in fertile soil. Initially, it is small, fragile, and almost invisible. Yet, with water, sunlight, and nourishment, it grows steadily. Growth is not sudden. It takes time, patience, and consistent care. In the same way, personal growth begins with small actions and habits. Reading a few pages of a book, reflecting on your day, practicing gratitude, or simply being aware of your thoughts. These small steps might seem insignificant at first, but over time, they compound into a stronger, wiser, and more resilient version of yourself. The beauty of continuous growth is that it never truly ends. No matter how successful, knowledgeable, or experienced you become, there is always room for improvement, always a higher level of understanding, and always new ways to enrich your life and the lives of those around you. Continuous self-growth also teaches us humility. When we embrace the idea that learning and improving are never finished, we begin to accept that we do not know everything, and we remain open to new ideas, perspectives, and experiences. This mindset keeps arrogance at bay and curiosity alive. It encourages us to listen more, observe more, and understand more deeply. It transforms challenges into opportunities, setbacks into lessons, and ordinary days into moments of discovery. Without this ongoing process, life can become monotonous, predictable, and uninspiring. Growth infuses meaning into our routines and purpose into our actions. Furthermore, continuous growth impacts every aspect of our lives. Mentally, it strengthens our problem-solving skills, emotional intelligence, and decision-making abilities. Physically, it motivates us to take care of our health and energy levels. Spiritually, it helps us connect with our values, principles, and higher purpose. Socially, it allows us to build meaningful relationships and contribute positively to others' lives. It is not limited to one dimension. Growth is holistic, and the more we invest in it, the richer our lives become. The journey of growth also builds resilience. Life is unpredictable, and challenges are inevitable. But when we commit to constant improvement, we develop the mindset to face difficulties without fear, adapt to change without resistance, and emerge stronger from setbacks. When it comes to self-improvement, many people make the mistake of waiting for a big moment, a sudden surge of motivation, a perfect opportunity, or an extraordinary life event. They imagine that change must be dramatic to be meaningful. But the truth is, small steps matter more than grand gestures. Real growth is not a sudden explosion. It is the result of consistent, incremental actions taken every single day. Imagine climbing a mountain. You don't leap to the top in one bound. You take one step, then another, sometimes slowly, sometimes carefully, but each step brings you closer to the summit. The cumulative effect of these small steps is what makes the impossible achievable. Small actions might seem insignificant at first. Reading 10 pages of a book, waking up 15 minutes earlier, practicing a short meditation, or simply choosing to respond to challenges with patience rather than frustration may feel like minor efforts. Yet, when repeated over days, weeks, and months, these small actions accumulate into substantial transformation. It is like drops of water gradually carving a canyon over centuries. Each drop on its own is negligible, but collectively they shape landscapes. In life, the same principle applies. Small habits, when done consistently, build character, knowledge, resilience, and wisdom. They lay the foundation for long-term success far more reliably than sudden bursts of energy or short-lived motivation. The power of small steps also lies in their accessibility. Big changes often intimidate us because they seem overwhelming. The thought of completely transforming one's life overnight can paralyze even the most determined individuals. But focusing on small, manageable actions removes that fear. When you concentrate on improving just a little every day, you create momentum. Momentum is a force that sustains you even on difficult days when motivation wanes. The person who commits to one productive action daily eventually builds a chain of victories that is hard to break. Over time, these small wins lead to significant achievements that feel almost effortless because they are the natural outcome of consistent effort. Small steps are also deeply empowering psychologically. They provide immediate feedback, encouragement, and a sense of accomplishment. Celebrating these minor victories fuels confidence and reinforces the habit of improvement. When you realize that small efforts are compounding into noticeable change, your belief in yourself strengthens. You start to trust that progress is possible, no matter how slowly it seems to unfold. And when challenges arise, you are less likely to be discouraged because you know that even incremental actions can create results over time. Another beautiful aspect of small steps is that they are sustainable. Massive, radical changes often burn people out. They demand extraordinary energy, discipline, and willpower, which are hard to maintain over the long term. Small actions, however, are simple enough to integrate into daily life. They fit naturally into routines, making personal growth a continuous, enjoyable process rather than a stressful obligation. Over the years, the impact of these consistent, small efforts becomes astonishing. They accumulate quietly but powerfully, shaping not only habits but a character, mindset, and ultimately destiny. Failure is something most of us fear. From childhood, we are taught to avoid mistakes, to aim for success, and to seek approval from others. But the truth is, failure is not the enemy. It is one of life's greatest teachers. Every failure carries a lesson, a hidden insight, and an opportunity for growth. The moment we begin to embrace failures, instead of fearing them, we unlock the path to real improvement and resilience. Think about it. Some of the most successful people in history faced countless failures before achieving greatness. What set them apart was not that they avoided falling, it was that they refused to stop getting up. When we fail, it is easy to feel discouraged or unworthy. We focus on what went wrong and replay our mistakes over and over in our minds. But this perspective keeps us trapped. Embracing failure means seeing it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. It requires courage. The courage to reflect honestly on what went wrong, to accept responsibility without self-blame, and to identify what can be done differently next time. Failure becomes a mirror showing us our weaknesses, blind spots, and areas that need improvement. It is not comfortable, but discomfort is often the birthplace of growth. Failure also teaches us patience and perseverance. When things don't go according to plan, we learn to adapt, to try different approaches, and to persist despite obstacles. Imagine learning to ride a bicycle. You fall dozens of times before you finally balance and pedal smoothly. Each fall is a lesson in balance, focus, and determination. Life works in the same way. Every failed attempt equips us with experience and wisdom that no success alone can provide. The beauty of failure is that it strengthens character. It builds humility, empathy, and resilience, qualities that are essential for personal and professional growth. Moreover, failure helps us redefine success. Often, we equate success with a result, a promotion, an award, or recognition, but real success lies in the journey of growth itself. Failing shifts our focus from external validation to internal improvement. It teaches us that learning, effort, and persistence are more valuable than immediate outcomes. Every time we fail and rise again, we develop confidence in our ability to face challenges. We become less dependent on others, approval, and more aligned with our own purpose and values. Another vital aspect of embracing failure is that it encourages innovation and creativity. When we are not afraid to fail, we take risks, experiment with new ideas, and push boundaries. Some of the greatest inventions and breakthroughs in history emerged from repeated failures. The willingness to make mistakes allows us to think differently, explore new paths, and discover solutions that would have remained hidden if we played it safe. Perfection is one of the greatest obstacles to self-improvement. Many people believe that in order to succeed or to grow, everything they do must be flawless. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions before taking action. But life rarely gives us perfection. If we constantly chase it, we end up trapped in a cycle of procrastination, self-doubt, and frustration. The truth is, growth happens not when things are perfect, but when we take action despite imperfections. Progress, not perfection, is the real key to personal development. Perfectionism creates unnecessary pressure. When we hold ourselves to impossibly high standards, we start measuring our worth by our ability to meet them. Every small mistake becomes a source of guilt, shame, or anxiety. Instead of focusing on learning or improving, perfectionists focus on avoiding mistakes at all costs. This fear of failure stifles creativity, limits opportunities, and prevents them from experimenting or trying new things. But the irony is that mistakes are often the most powerful teachers. By aiming for perfection, we deny ourselves the very experiences that lead to growth, wisdom, and resilience. Consider a painter who spends years trying to create a perfect painting without ever finishing it. Every brush stroke is scrutinized, every color dotted, and in the end, the painting remains incomplete. Contrast this with another painter who works with imperfect strokes, makes mistakes, and even sometimes paints over errors. That second painter not only finishes the work, but also improves with every attempt. Life is much the same, taking imperfect action, learning from it, and continuing to move forward leads to far more growth than endlessly waiting for everything to be flawless. Perfectionism also robs us of joy. When we are obsessed with doing everything perfectly, we become overly critical of ourselves and others. We focus on what's wrong instead of what's right, on shortcomings rather than achievements. This mindset can drain motivation, happiness, and energy. True improvement comes when we allow ourselves to celebrate small wins, acknowledge progress, and accept that flaws are part of being human. Growth is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes uncomfortable, but that is exactly what makes it meaningful and transformative. Another consequence of perfectionism is that it delays action. Many people postpone starting a project, learning a new skill, or making a change because they feel unprepared or inadequate. They wait for conditions to be ideal, believing that perfect timing or perfect preparation will guarantee success. But life rarely works that way. Waiting for perfection often means never starting at all. Real progress happens when we take the first step, even if it is small, imperfect, or uncertain. Momentum grows from action, not from endless planning or overthinking. Avoiding perfectionism doesn't mean lowering standards or accepting mediocrity. It means embracing effort, learning from mistakes, and valuing progress over flawless outcomes. It is about being kind to yourself, recognizing that every step forward, no matter how small or imperfect, is a victory. Learning is the fuel that keeps self-improvement alive. Without it, growth stagnates, and life can begin to feel repetitive and uninspiring. Yet, so often, people treat learning as something that ends with formal education. They graduate from school or college and assume that their learning journey is complete. But the truth is, learning is lifelong. It does not stop when you leave the classroom. It continues every day, in every experience, and through every person you meet. Those who commit to learning constantly understand that every moment is an opportunity to gain knowledge, insight, and wisdom. Learning constantly is not only about acquiring new facts or skills, it is about developing curiosity and an open mind. Life is filled with lessons, if only we are willing to see them. A conversation with a stranger, a failure at work, a setback in a relationship, or even a quiet moment of reflection can teach us something invaluable. The key is to remain attentive, humble, and receptive. Curiosity fuels growth because it drives us to ask questions, explore new possibilities, and challenge our assumptions. When we stop being curious, we stop learning, and when we stop learning, we stop growing. One of the most powerful ways to learn constantly is through reading. Books open doors to worlds we may never experience in person. They allow us to see the perspectives of people from different cultures, times, and walks of life. Through reading, we absorb lessons from the successes and failures of others, gaining wisdom that would otherwise take decades to acquire. But learning doesn't have to be limited to books. Podcasts, videos, workshops, and conversations with mentors are all opportunities to expand our knowledge. The important thing is to remain engaged, to seek out information actively, and to apply what we learn to our lives. Another aspect of constant learning is self-reflection. Learning is most meaningful when we take the time to understand ourselves. Reflecting on our thoughts, actions, and decisions allows us to identify patterns, strengths, and areas for improvement. It helps us make better choices and avoid repeating mistakes. Reflection turns experience into wisdom, and wisdom is the cornerstone of continuous improvement. Without reflection, learning remains superficial. With it, it becomes transformational. Learning constantly also requires humility. We must accept that no matter how much we know, there is always more to learn. Every individual we encounter, every challenge we face, and every situation we navigate carries a lesson if we are willing to absorb it. Humility allows us to listen more, judge less, and grow faster. It ensures that we are never complacent and never stop striving to become better. Taking responsibility for yourself is one of the most powerful steps toward personal growth. Many people spend their lives blaming circumstances, other people, or the world around them for their problems. When things go wrong, it is easy to point fingers, to make excuses, or to wait for someone else to fix the situation. But the truth is, no one is truly responsible for your growth except you. Until we accept responsibility for our choices, actions, and outcomes, we cannot fully improve ourselves. Taking ownership means recognizing that our life is the result of the decisions we make, the habits we form, and the effort we put in or fail to put in. Taking responsibility begins with the mind. It requires honesty with yourself and the courage to acknowledge where you have fallen short, where mistakes have been made, and where change is needed. This is not about self-blame or guilt, but about clarity and empowerment. When you accept responsibility, you shift from being a passive observer of life to an active participant. You stop waiting for externation or validation or external help to move forward and start taking deliberate action to create the life you desired. Responsibility transforms us from victims of circumstances into architects of our own destiny. Consider the story of someone who dreams of a better career. It is easy to complain about the economy, the boss, or the lack of opportunities. But true growth begins when that person asks, what can I do to improve my skills, expand my network, and create opportunities for myself? Taking responsibility means taking steps such as learning new skills, seeking mentorship, applying consistently, or building a portfolio. Each small, proactive choice moves them closer to their goal, rather than waiting for luck or external forces to deliver success. Responsibility also extends to our emotions. Life will inevitably present challenges, disappointments, and conflicts. How we respond to these situations is within our control. We can choose to react with negativity, resentment, or blame, or we can respond with composure, reflection, and constructive action. By taking responsibility for our emotional responses, we become less reactive and more empowered. We learn to navigate life's storms with grace, making decisions that align with our values rather than being swept away by circumstances. Taking responsibility is deeply connected to freedom. It may sound paradoxical, but when we stop blaming others and stop waiting for things to happen, we gain control over our own lives. Freedom comes from understanding that our choices define our path and that we have the ability to change direction whenever necessary. No external circumstance can truly limit us unless we allow it to. This mindset not only accelerates personal growth, but also builds resilience, confidence, and self-respect. Furthermore, responsibility is contagious. When we take ownership of our actions, we inspire those around us to do the same. Families, teams, and communities function better when individuals act with accountability. Growth becomes collective, and positive impact spreads beyond our own lives. It is a principle that transforms not only ourselves, but also the world we interact with. Our mind is the most powerful tool we have, yet it is also one of the most neglected. Just as a garden cannot flourish without water, sunlight, and care, our minds cannot thrive without deliberate nourishment. To improve ourselves, to grow continuously, and to face life's challenges with clarity and resilience, we must actively feed our minds with knowledge, positive thoughts, and experiences that inspire growth. Nourishing the mind is not merely about acquiring information. It is about cultivating wisdom, emotional strength, and perspective. The quality of the thoughts we allow to take root in our minds shapes our lives. Negative, critical, or self-defeating thoughts act like weeds in a garden, spreading quickly and choking the growth of confidence, creativity, and happiness. On the other hand, thoughts of gratitude, curiosity, and possibility create fertile ground for personal development. By consciously choosing what we read, watch, and listen to, we can influence the direction of our thinking and ultimately our behavior. Just as a healthy diet strengthens the body, a healthy mental diet strengthens the mind. Books, podcasts, educational videos, and reflective journaling are all ways to nurture mental growth. But nourishing the mind goes beyond absorbing knowledge. It also involves reflection and mindfulness. Taking time to pause, contemplate, and process experiences allows us to transform information into wisdom. Reflection is the fertilizer of the mind. It turns lessons from failures, successes, and everyday experiences into insights that guide our actions. When we cultivate awareness of our thoughts and emotions, we gain control over our reactions, make better decisions, and respond to challenges with composure rather than impulsivity. Mindfulness allows us to focus on the present moment and extract meaning from each experience, which is essential for continuous improvement. Nourishing the mind also means surrounding ourselves with positive influences. The people we interact with, the environments we inhabit, and the conversations we engage in all impact our mental growth. Toxic relationships, constant negativity, or unproductive habits can drain mental energy and stunt growth. Conversely, learning from mentors, engaging with inspiring peers, and participating in uplifting communities stimulates the mind and expands our horizons. Exposure to diverse perspectives challenges our assumptions, deepens understanding, and fuels creativity. Moreover, nourishing the mind requires curiosity and a willingness to learn continuously. The world is vast, and there is always something new to explore, understand, and master. By embracing a mindset of lifelong learning, we keep the mind active, flexible, and resilient. Curiosity leads to innovation, problem solving, and personal fulfillment. A mind that is constantly fed with ideas, knowledge, and reflection becomes a fertile ground for growth, enabling us to adapt to change, overcome challenges, and seize opportunities. Taking care of the mind also involves managing stress and mental clutter. Just as physical exercise strengthens the body, mental practices such as meditation, deep breathing, or mindful breaks strengthen focus, clarity, and emotional balance. A well-nourished mind is calm, attentive, and ready to process information effectively. It allows us to approach problems with creativity rather than anxiety, and to make decisions with clarity rather than confusion. Change is the only constant in life. Seasons shift, circumstances evolve, people come and go, and the world around us transforms in ways we cannot always control. Yet, many of us resist change. We cling to routines, comfort zones, and familiar patterns, believing that stability is safety. But true growth and self-improvement come not from resisting change, but from learning to adapt to it. Adaptability is not just a skill, it is a mindset, a way of approaching life that allows us to thrive even when the unexpected occurs. Adapting to change begins with acceptance. Life will not always go according to plan, and clinging to what we think should happen only creates frustration and stress. Accepting that change is inevitable allows us to respond to situations with calm and clarity, rather than with panic or resistance. Consider the example of a tree in a storm. It bends with the wind, adjusting its branches to withstand the force, but it does not break. In the same way, when we bend and adjust to life's challenges, rather than resisting them rigidly, we emerge stronger and wiser. Adaptability also requires willingness to learn and learn. Often, change demands that we let go of old habits, outdated beliefs, or unproductive patterns. Holding on to what no longer serves us limits growth and keeps us stuck in the past. By being open to new ideas, approaches, and perspectives, we expand our ability to navigate life effectively. Learning to adapt means seeing change not as a threat, but as an opportunity, an invitation to explore new possibilities, develop new skills, and discover potential within ourselves that we may not have known existed. Flexibility in thought and action is another essential aspect of adapting to change. Life rarely follows a straight path, and unexpected obstacles or detours are inevitable. Those who are rigid in their thinking struggle when faced with uncertainty, while those who cultivate flexibility can find solutions, pivot strategies, and make the best of difficult situations. Adaptable people focus on what they can control, their effort, attitude, and response, rather than fixating on what is beyond their influence. This perspective not only reduces stress, but also empowers them to create positive outcomes, even in challenging circumstances. Emotional resilience is deeply connected to adaptability. Change often brings discomfort, fear, anxiety. Learning to manage these emotions, to remain composed, and to respond constructively is crucial. Resilient individuals do not allow change to derail them. Instead, they embrace it as part of life's natural rhythm. They understand that setbacks, transitions, and uncertainties are temporary, and that every change carries a lesson or opportunity for growth. Adapting to change also fosters creativity and innovation. When we are willing to adjust our approach, try new methods, and explore unfamiliar paths, we open ourselves to solutions and ideas that would have remained hidden if we clung rigidly to old ways. Some of the most significant breakthroughs in life, business, and personal development occur when we respond creatively to change rather than resisting it.